civilian militia as well to engage with people who are merely protesting and, you know, showing their concern for, you know, so many decades of oppression and suppression. And I'm heartened to see that for the first time we have a Prime Minister and a government which is very concerned about what is going on, and Prime Minister has come out stating that, you know, this type of brutality and inhumanity that's taking place is not something that the PNG government sanctions and approves of and is concerned about it. I feel that the world is now paying more attention to a terrible situation, a situation where our people have been imprisoned unlawfully on their own land, you know, via an agreement that was unlawful, which involved parties that had no right to have a say over West Papua. If you look at the New York agreement, that agreement did not involve West Papuans. If you look at the referendum, that was not a referendum, the 1969 Act of No Choice. Because a referendum is supposed to consult all persons who are adult and of voting age. Now, only 1,024 people were consulted, and under very, very, you know, difficult circumstances, threats, and the rest of the world watched. If you look at the island, there are significant investments there from the developing nations. You've got nations from Europe, you've got Australia, the US, Japan, South Africa. These countries have significant interest in that particular area. Is that why they are silent? If that is so, then we need to bring this to the attention of the rest of the world and say this is totally inhumane. These are the same countries that are always preaching about democracy and humanity, and yet they are silent about this because they are willing to turn a blind eye while this type of oppression continues. Loss of lives, brutality, you know, and racism. This was sparked by racism, you know, an act of, you know, the terrible racism that has not gone down well with our people. They are also Pacific Islanders. We must remember this. The people of West Papua and Papua are Pacific Islanders. Predominantly Melanesians, but they also have Micronesian and Polynesians. All the Pacific Island communities that we see in our country are also represented there. The word Pacific means free and welcoming. Well, these people are not free, and they cannot be welcoming because they are oppressed and suppressed in the most brutal way. So we are responsible as people who are free, as their people, fellow Melanesians and Pacific Islanders. We are responsible for standing up and speaking out. And I want to thank the governor, who has been a strong advocate of this for as long as I've known him. And when he went into Parliament, he has not changed. He has continued his advocacy, and, you know, I've joined him and I've continued that. We need more voices. We need more people to show. We are not trying to engage in a military way with Indonesia. We just want to draw attention to an act of inhumanity that is the responsibility of all others in the world. That where there is an act of inhumanity against other human beings, oppression, suppression, and torture, murder, it is not something we ought to accept. We cannot be free if they are continuously oppressed and suppressed and imprisoned on their own land like this. Thank you.